Hello, this is Patrick Jackson, and this is my case study for Module 12. What we see in this case is a population increase in a rural district. The community has voted to build a new middle school to facilitate that population growth. A new principal has been hired 1 year prior to the opening of the new middle school, as well as an advisory committee put together by that new principal to facilitate input on decision making. They have been tasked with developing a philosophy, vision, and mission statement, and unfortunately the ideas of the principal have been met with opposition. This is taking place in a rural community of Lightville. The Lightville Community School District serves two predominantly rural townships where 60% of the population is farmers. It's going to take approximately 18 months to finish the project of building a new middle school. And again, the principal has been hired 12 months prior to the first operational year. In this case, we see that the people involved are the community, who displays mixed feelings about how to deal with the population increase. The new principal, who is in the process of decision making, and the advisory council, who is supposed to be contributing to that decision making, as well as the parents who are also represented in that advisory board, as well as the district board of education and students who will be working for and working with the new middle school. Here we see no legal issues and no breach of contract, but what we do see are ethical issues that are compromised. The advisory committee had agreed to the guidelines that were set forth by the principal in how the meetings were going to work and what the responsibilities of the committee were. A couple of those guidelines that they had agreed upon was that decisions would be made by consensus over voting, as well as in regards to developing the philosophy, vision, and mission statements. They were going to collectively reflect the values and beliefs of the committee, not just the principal or one person. The committee voted for the principal to draft a philosophy statement which kind of contradicts the agreement that they had in developing one that reflects a collective reflection of the values and beliefs of the committee. And this case ends up being potentially harmful to collaborative efforts when the philosophy of the principal is to build the idea of our school, not my school. It also could be potentially harmful from the principal's relationship with the committee members and staff members, even when my ideas may conflict with respecting the committee's consensus, because they are making a decision on how they want to handle it, and they are coming to a consensus, even if it doesn't agree with my ideas. And it could be potentially harmful in that we're running out of time to develop our philosophy, vision, and mission statements. As it's stated, there's only a few months of work. In summary, I, as a principal, am seeking solutions to engage my advisory committee in collaborative efforts to develop the new school philosophy, vision, and mission statements as a means to promote a shared leadership culture amongst staff and stakeholders after being met with disinterest during our first committee meeting. Reviewing the facts of this case, the people that we see involved are myself, Principal Potter, the advisory committee, Helen Burke, who is the committee chair, a teacher who was selected for her leadership skills. We see Dan Kelby is also a teacher who voices his opinion. He's also a committee member. And also we see some of the norms reflected in the behavior of some of the committee members in the community, being content and letting authority make decisions, but also being vocal when they dislike the decisions that are being made. The place that we are in is a rural community where 60% of the population are farmers. There's been an influx of new families with school-age children. The place where the middle school is going to be built is a 65-acre site that already has a 22-year-old elementary school that services kindergarten through 6th grade, as well as an 11-year-old secondary school that services 7th through 12th grade. From what we know about the program is that it is going to be a middle school. It's a public school that serves the rural community, and and the Board of Education voted that building the middle school is the best option for dealing with this population increase, giving that amongst other options. When reviewing and prioritizing the information given in this case, we see that the advisory committee represents the stakeholders and is supposed to represent their values and their opinions when developing the philosophy and vision of the school. This decision could cause to be affected by community norms based on their response to me as a principal and my ideas. Community members and taxpayers are a group that's affected and could potentially be damaged based on the decisions that are made and how they view me as a principal. This could also damage the idea of the program effectiveness, whether we're being productive or unproductive, effective or ineffective. How our community and education has been affected by such changes in the past is something that we have to take into consideration and some information that would be nice to have. When the other buildings for the school district were built in the past, how did decisions being made, how were they made, what input did the community give, or was it all decisions being made by one person in charge? And then another consideration we need to think about is what will be community makeup in the future based on what our school does and what the school is going to look like, being a rural community that's only 10 miles outside of a major city and is already seeing a population growth. Looking at the different options in making the decision, option 1 is to take no action. And it's also very similar to option 2, but option 1 is to proceed by developing a statement independently as the principal and accepting the committee's feedback afterwards. And in that case, it would be respondent to the committee's needs for what they want. It'd be falling in line with what they want and then just seeing how it turned out afterwards. Option 2 is very similar, liberal action being taken where we proceed by developing my own statement independently as a principal, and then I just decide to make my own decisions afterwards, taking little or no consideration of committee feedback on my opinion, since I'm the one who is tasked to develop that statement. And then I have 2 options for option 3, or they can align with each other, but that would be to devise a framework to capture authentic committee input, whether that's some form of note-taking or discussion framework that facilitates the needs of the community and the values and beliefs of the committee, or another option would be to reassign committee positions, and there's a couple different ways that can happen. In evaluating these options, starting with option 1, this would demonstrate a willingness to accommodate the community norms and the committee norms. It also I would have to utilize patience to promote growth toward leadership, building in my school, maybe giving a little so I can receive a little. And by showing my support for their decision, I could possibly garner some more support from the committee in the future. But with this action being taken, I'm at risk of becoming a scapegoat if my proposition is taken the wrong way. In option 2, it sets a precedence that change will happen. Unfortunately, it, for lack of better terms, would become a dictatorship rather than collaborative. And through taking that action, I risk alienating the community and their input. And then with option 3, kind of a combination of the 2 options I gave, it would promote perseverance while still demonstrating collaborative ambitions. But unfortunately, it could possibly alienate staff and parents. Choosing the best option, I believe that a combination of developing framework independently and seeking feedback, as well as developing a framework to encourage participation, is the best course of action, and that kind of combines my option 1 and my option 2. And a little bit of my option 3, kind of the best pieces of all of them. Some pros to this would be accommodating community norms and engaging myself in what the community already does, not just bringing what I do to the table. It would develop a growth mindset in my committee members, especially the teacher committee members that I'm trying to promote as leaders. And that lends itself to promoting leadership with stakeholders and giving them more responsibility in making decisions. I see this as moving the needle, kind of changing the climate and the culture over time. It would test how supportive the committee actually is, in kind of a backhanded way, but still really looking to see where they stand and how much support they're going to give, as well as gain knowledge on how easy or difficult promoting change actually is for myself as a leader. Some cons would then end up being that the committee is not supportive, not as supportive as they've led me to believe, saying that they'll stand behind whatever I say, potentially losing input regarding shared values and ethics of the community, and also being met with further opposition and kind of just building that culture of defying authority. In implementing my decision, there's lots of steps and considerations I'd have to take. And first off, I'd have to develop a draft based on personal values and beliefs, my own personal values and beliefs, and hope that they coincide with those of the committee and the community. Develop a series of questions to engage the committee in dialogue about the draft so I can get more input outside of just my own. Have the committee hold the committee to their word in being supportive, or I could possibly gain insight into seeing the needs of the community, utilizing committee meetings to demonstrate my ability to incorporate committee feedback into the draft. So maybe trying to find another avenue of getting that feedback that I can incorporate. The committee will either agree with the draft or provide feedback, but the draft will probably be the building block for what we end up submitting. Superintendent, committee members, and staff should be informed about the ongoing with our process, as well as stakeholders should be presented the draft for further feedback and data collection before it actually gets submitted. I'd have to gain district support for future committee development, hopefully gaining some support in who I select and how we function that I can use to back me up if I do need to be more authoritative. And this could end up shaping my administrative tenure depending on how the decision affects the community and how they respond. And in the future, I just look at myself as needing to read the situation and adjust based on how the community reacts to my response and my decision.